Today I'm going to find out if it's even possible to set the bead on my tires without an air compressor or CO2. I've looked a few things up online, I've looked at some tutorials, but realistically I'm a tubeless noob. These are set up tubeless as it stands right now, but those tires have about 3,000 miles on them, and I blew a bead last week just riding around and there's a tube in the front wheel. I'm going to run you through, from a beginner's perspective, what it's like to get your tires set up for tubeless without an air compressor. I don't even know if it's fully possible, so stick around and let's find out. The way these rims are set up, they're already taped and I already have valves. The things you're going to need to get this job done is a floor pump. I've got some sealant with a nozzle so I can add it in through the valve stem. This multi-tool from Unior, this has a valve stem removal tool on it. That's important. A valve stem for tubeless for each tire, and some tire levers. I'm going to link all those tools below, so if this does actually work out in the end, you can do it yourself. So I'm going to start with my rear tire. This one has sealant in it, although the sealant is about 1.5 years old and it's probably pretty dried up. Oh yeah. Pretty important part of doing this process is getting the rim itself clean. A lot of the really old sealant in this tire is sticking to the rim tape, which is making me very nervous. We're just going to separate it with the tire lever. I'm just going to clean up the rim with some warm soapy water and then get it completely dry. It's really important that you do this process over carpet so you can stain your home as much as possible. See how much of that good came off of there? While the rear tire's out in the sun getting all nice and dry, I'm going to repeat the process on the front wheel, mostly cleaning everything since there's still a tube in this tire. All right, we got the front one all cleaned up. I'm going to grab the rear tire, and this is the hard part. We're going to set the bead. One of the main things that's different about doing this without an air compressor is I need to set the bead and then put in tire sealant. And I'm going to put the tire on and partially set the bead with my tire iron. Another thing to look out for is make sure that you put the tire on in the proper direction. Virtually every time I do this, it seems to be backwards. At this stage, I only have one bead on. Double check that the rotation is in the right direction. Whew, there we go. I'm going to use a tire lever to start to set the bead around. So I'm going to start to pull it over as I make my way around. I could only imagine that with a mountain biking tire that's really thick, this would be a lot harder. I'm definitely finding a technique of pinching the bead near the rim and then pulling it up further ahead and then sliding everything over. The further I get, the more challenging this becomes. I got 80% on that side. I'm gonna switch. I'm definitely getting better at this with practice, but my God. All right, we're looking pretty sealed up right now. We are going to try and put air in it and set the bead. It's working. Oh my God. Oh my God. I think I exceeded the maximum PSI. Or the bead just blew. I don't even know what just happened there. That was a real moment of my life that I won't forget. Scared the shit out of me. Okay. I'm extremely sweaty. But I've got it back to where we were before the explosion. I'm honestly a little bit scared. Okay, we're at 30 pounds. That's the minimum for this tire. I think I went to like 50, 55 last time. Let's try to not do that if you're doing this at home. Keep it close, high on your pressure gauge. Whew. If I said I wasn't scared, I'd be lying to you. Give it the old shakeroo. Okay, we got one tire down. So for this tire, it seems I didn't clean it well enough. Every time I try and pull the bead over to the edge, it just slides back into the middle. There's nothing to really grip it, or it's not really holding place. So I'm gonna have to take it apart and clean it one more time. But I wanna get a run in before the sun sets today, so that's as far as I'm getting for right now. It's now the following day. I ended up poking a bit of a hole in my rim tape, and I needed to go to the bike shop to grab some more. There we go. That was much easier the second time. Was able to get that one to seat as well. Both the tires are holding air. There's sealant in it. And as a beginner who's never set up tubeless before in their lives, I've always had to shop do it. This was extremely difficult. I'm not gonna lie about that. I was sweating profusely. It was really challenging. Definitely don't overinflate the tire and then touch it and explode it. Scare the life out of your girlfriend. I think my ears are still ringing from that one. This was more of an experiment. I've never set up tubeless before, and this is my first attempt at doing it with or without an air compressor. I like to do a lot of my own work myself at home, even if it's more difficult, and the real cost in that is time and also making mistakes. The first tire took a really long time. The second tire went a lot faster. So as I went through this process, I learned a lot. It takes a bit of practice and a bit of finesse to get the bead up close to the rim, but there's a couple things I learned. One being, make sure that rim is nice and clean. If there's any sealant, any soap left over, any residue of any kind, when you try and force the bead over to the edge of the rim, it's just gonna keep slipping back into the center channel. You're not gonna be able to get the tension that you need for it to hold just enough air to push the bead and set it fully. Another thing was that when this tire was brand new, my second attempt, I was having a lot of trouble getting the edge of the bead over to the rim, and I didn't actually get it all the way around set. I was able to get it 3/4 of the way, which created enough tension to hold air when I used the pump. There's a variety of other methods for setting up tubeless that are far easier than this, but I think it's important to try a variety of things so you can learn how to work on your own bike in the field. Would I recommend this to the at-home mechanic? Probably not. It's probably a lot easier to just take it up to the shop and have them set that bead with an air compressor. But in a pinch, I now know I can reset the bead on my own, and that's pretty cool. CO2 canister, that's a great option. Air compressor, even better. Both tires are holding air, and I'm looking forward to my biking trip this weekend. Mac and I are gonna go out and do some nice gravel riding near Elkins, West Virginia, and do a 3 or 4 day bike packing trip that's about 200 miles all around Elkins. So keep a lookout for that video. But if you're an at-home mechanic or you're going out bike packing, I'm gonna link a video below about some common bike packing repair scenarios that you might see when you're on your first trip. And I'm gonna link a video about all the tools that I bring on my trips.